So until everybody can join, as including the panelists. So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinars on beef farming and food security in Africa. We are actually celebrating the World Bee Day, designated by the United Nations on every May 20th of every year. So before we move further, I would like to remind that this webinar is being recorded and will be available on GAXA YouTube channel. To begin with, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Soumaya Zadem. I'm from Tunisia, and I'm a board member of Arab African Council for Sustainable Development and co-partner of the Youth Consortium. So this webinar is organized by the Youth Consortium, co-hosted by the Global Alliance for Climate Smart Agriculture, GAXA, by the FAO, the University of Nairobi, in collaboration with the Inter-African Bureau for Animal Resources of the African Union, AUIBA, the African German Leadership Academy, the Stockholm Environment Institute, and API Service Monde, who are all here, and I would like to welcome all of them. So I believe that, and all of us, we believe that unity is strength, and it's widely used proverb. So we choose to use it, and we come up with the Youth Consortium, which is a synergy of two African organizations to spread ahead and execute deliverables and projects with efficiency and professionalism. The two organizations are my organization, the Arab African Council for Sustainable Development, which is founded on October 29, 2016 in Tunisia, and it's a non-governmental organizations. And I would like also to welcome the president, which is who is present today, also Hassan Belgasem, and also the Hyatt Consult. It's an organization, management consultancy with a youth-led social enterprise approach, and the focus on the most critical needs, problems, and create sustainable solutions and opportunities through strategy operations and digital delivery across the board. It was founded in December 2018 and based in Ghana with a global reach. With this, I would like to pass the floor to the Dr. John, co-moderating this webinar with me. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Madam Soumaya. Am I audible? Can everyone hear me? Awesome. I'm very excited today just to see you all here sharing your time. That is very most important to join us in this webinar. And the success of this webinar can only be by you with us. So on that note, I want to welcome everyone here, and also to thank you all for making it with us, because it's been a journey of ideas. And the reason why we are here is because of the importance of that element that makes our world a better place in terms of food security, in terms of sustainable livelihood. So the overall objective is simply to bring together experts, which we'll have here researchers, civil society organizations, and most important, the youth, to discuss the impacts of what we all know, the COVID-19 climate crisis. How has all these impacted on the bee farming industry? And also to highlight the importance of locally adapted bee populations in relation to their health and survival. Now, someone may ask, why is bee so important? The thing is, we need to spotlight beekeeping management that also focuses on the natural processes of cycle, biodiversity, ecosystem, and what else? To also identify the value chains in the bee farming industry to job, to wealth creation, value-added products, health and well-being. So on that note, I would want to first also express appreciation to all our collaborators and our co-hosts who are here with me. And on that note, I will open the floor to our first person who is going to present. She has been amazing in terms of support, in terms of guidance. And when we talk of the youth space, Jana and Simon has been amazing. And this is for the record. They have been at the forefront of championing meaningful youth engagement. Now, before we let her come in, a few house rules. We have time allocated for every speaker, for every session, and we will strictly adhere to that because we want to respect the time of everyone gathered here. Second rule is that there will be no interruptions because we will have time for Q&A, time for breakout sessions. And should there be any intervention, please raise your hand or put your intervention in the chat. Thank you very much. And on that note, I would like to welcome Madam Jana Stankova. She is with GAXA, hosted by FA. She'll tell more about this and also about herself. So Jana, the floor and the audience is yours now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, John, for such a warm welcome. I really, really appreciate it. It's an honor to be here, and really thank you so much for having GAXA. And it's been a great pleasure to co-host this amazing webinar, especially which is led by the youth. So my name is Jana Stenkova. I'm the head of communications for the Global Alliance for Climate Smart Agriculture, which is hosted by the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations in Rome. So John, I apologize firstly for my connection. It's a little bit unstable, so I would ask John to share a PowerPoint presentation. Thank you. I will tell you shortly what is GAXA and what is our aim for the new strategic plan, because we have introduced the new strategic plan for 10 years. And the main focus is actually on youth, and we're really trying to put youth in the center. So next slide, please. Thank you. So just quickly, I think that it's very important to give you a quick brief on what is actually climate smart agriculture. Well, CSA is an approach that helps guide actions to transform the agri-food systems towards green and climate resilient practices. There are three pillars of CSA towards which, of course, all the GAXA members are trying to contribute, and all their work and contributions are climate smart agriculture related. So the three pillars, how you can see on this PowerPoint, is first to sustainably increase agriculture productivity and incomes. The second pillar is to adapt and build resilience of people and food systems to climate change. And the third one is reduce and or remove greenhouse gas emissions where, of course, possible. Next slide, please. So something quickly about GAXA. We have a very, very good history of the Alliance. We have been launched by the UN Secretary General in New York in September 2014. We're using an integrated knowledge-intensive approach in order to catalyze collaborative action to accelerate the scaling up of climate smart agriculture through its members' initiatives, engagements, and programs. We are a multi-stakeholder platform with an extensive, sorry, John, thank you, with an extensive membership base, and we have members from 6 different constituencies, which are, for example, the NGOs, farmer organizations, private sector, research bodies, and so on. So really, we have a very wide section of members that are all working towards climate smart agriculture. Next slide, please. So as mentioned, we have 8 years of experience since 2014. We're taking, of course, into account all the international processes related to agriculture, food security, and nutrition, and of course, climate change that are, for example, the Sustainable Development Goals, the UNFCCC. We've been working a lot, for example, last year towards the UN Food System Summit, and we've been doing like many dialogues towards the path and really trying to engage all the members towards all of these international processes and ensuring they're, of course, aware of the latest main themes and topics that are related to climate smart agriculture, climate change, food insecurity, and of course, agriculture in general. Next slide, please. So these are just quick numbers from last year, what the Global Alliance for Climate Smart Agriculture has been working towards or we have achieved. So how you can see, we have at this moment 7 regional alliances that are covering 5 main continents, which is North America, South America, Africa, Asia and Pacific, and of course Europe we have as well. So last year we have co-hosted and co-convened more than 130 dialogues, and I would like to point out that there were 50% of them were actually youth focused. So we're really trying to put the focus on youth and really trying to engage our youth members and really trying to interact with them and trying to make their voices to be heard. As mentioned previously, we have members from 6 different constituencies, and we have 3 action groups where all the members can engage and interact, which are co-led by co-leaders. Sorry, John, one slide back, thank you. The 3 action groups are on enabling environment, on knowledge sharing, and investment. So if you have any information on how to join GACSA or how to get involved in these 3 action groups, I'll be posting more information after my presentation. Next slide, please. So as mentioned at the beginning, we have a new strategic plan that is a 10-year plan with 3 main thematic areas. The first one is on sustainable agriculture. The second one is on resilience and climate change adaptation. And the third one is on innovation and technology. We have crosscuts and themes throughout all of these thematic areas, which are focusing on women, youth, and also finances. I would like to point out that GACSA, as a global alliance, recognizes the importance of engaging and empowering women and youth in order to scale up climate smart agriculture. It's of course very important to do this in an inclusive manner, and we're encouraging all of GACSA members to mainstream these themes in all of their work to really get involved with women and youth and to really show the importance of these cross-cutting themes. Thank you, John. Next slide, please. So I would like to thank again very, very much to John and Sumaya for organizing this, and it's a huge pleasure to be part of this amazing webinar. We of course are hoping that we will get youth even on a high level to really get involved with GACSA and its members. So I'm giving the floor back to John, and I'll be posting all the information regarding GACSA in the chat shortly. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jana, for that short but precise and action-pointed presentation on GACSA. And I must say again that personally, I am a member, and it has been very fulfilling from the very first day I heard about GACSA and I joined. And this is where it has led us to. This is youth-focused with the youth at heart. And should you have any project that you deem fit, I will encourage you all participants to get in touch with Jana, share your ideas, share your expectation, and the team will surely welcome you with open arms and get you on the road going. So thank you once again, Jana, for all the support, for all the advice and the expert skills that you have brought on board for us. We really appreciate. Okay, people, on that note, we would move to our second opening remarks. And this will also be by Dr. Svein Grim. He is the head of the Inter and Transnational Corporation at the DIA, and he is here representing the African German Leadership Academy. Dr. Vine will share and tell you more about what the whole organization is about, and you will get to know them. So over to you, Dr. Vine, and we really appreciate you coming here. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me, and we're very proud and honored to be represented as African Academy, also in the circle of the organizers and speakers. We have alumni of the Academy. We are very proud to be a collaboration partner. The African Academy is in place since 2021, so last year, and is cooperating with partners from 7 African countries and Germany, and discussing mostly around sustainability issues. The Agenda 2030 and the Agenda 2063 are the key documents or frameworks around which and with which we are working. It's a matter of peer exchange from people from diverse backgrounds, be that from academia, from the public sector, from the media or the civil society. And we are aiming at fostering exchanges, discussions, peer learning around topics of sustainability. Food security, as your topic is today, is one of the dimensions of that. And I think it is actually quite handy and very likely not a coincidence that it's 2022 as the year of nutrition in the African Union. So that's a very suitable topic. We find this topic of bee farming and discussions around how bee farming is contributing to nutrition and effects of pandemics on it highly innovative and important at the same time. Now, I'm not an expert on bee farming. I'm not an expert on agriculture. I'm a political scientist and mostly working on cooperation. I have a personal private interest in bee farming and beekeeping, so I do have an interest there. But in terms of the topic, I think it actually connects also to our cooperation topic and sustainability issues very well. You've had that in the outline of your webinar. It is very much about human nutrition with direct linkages to health. So it's about several dimensions of human society. This can be understood directly, beekeeping, producing honey, but more indirect, more so even indirectly through pollination that is happening. So it's very important for fruits, vegetables, and other nutrients that are necessary for a healthy human diet. And basically, if you want to put it more pointedly, for life on the planet as we know it. It links also to biodiversity issues. Yes, we are mostly discussing Apis mellifera, so the honeybee. When you look at pollination, it also involves quite a number of wild bees or other insects. So it's biodiversity on that aspect. And the pollination itself provides biodiversity or sustains biodiversity in the plant life. It also is a good indicator for the risks of pesticides. And we have pointed discussions on that in the European Union, which of these pesticides actually affect bees in particular, and whether they should be allowed or not. And last but not least, it has social and political dimension of sustainability covered in it. It is about livelihood of people. And it is about life in rural and semi-urban areas, how to organize, how to regulate a sector is, I think, also particularly interesting and relevant, and it could link also to the bee farming discussion. And then when we discuss organization or regulation of a sector, the broad effects that situations like a pandemic have on human societies and on organization, on nutrition, on spread of different forms of livelihood, I think is a very interesting approach that we are happy to be involved with indirectly here through cooperation. And as I said, through some of our alumni and as organizers or as speakers. So I'm very proud and honored to be here. I do have to, however, apologize because I have to leave early as the African Academy 2022, this year's Academy, is currently ongoing. And at 2 o'clock our time, which means in half an hour, we have an external guest from South Africa speaking. So I have to be running in 10 minutes or so to set the room and organize. I try to be here as long as possible, and I'm, as I said, proud and honored to be with you, and thank you very much for having me. Back to you, John.
Thank you very much, Svine, for that crispy introductions of what you all do there, and we really appreciate. I fully understand the engagements at hand. We have been briefed beforehand of your busy schedule, and we are happy to host you as much as you can stay, and you are also as much as free as to leave any time of your choosing. Thank you very much for this. Okay, everyone, you have heard it all from our major stakeholders. You can see the diverse background they bring to the table, even though Svine is more political science and all that, he has still given us why this topic and this webinar is important to food security, agriculture, and what we care about in green jobs and sustainable livelihood. So we are happy that we've had a lot of diverse background here. And on that note, I would like to usher in the experts who are going to dish out more of what we need to know when it comes to bee farming, when it comes to the honeys, when it comes to the people on the ground who are doing this. And this woman is an amazing woman. She's been leading the forefront at the University of Nairobi, the Department of Land Resource Management and Agricultural Technology. And she is a lecturer and a researcher and goes by the name Dr. Judith Mbao. So shall we please welcome Dr. Judith Mbao for her presentation on the topic at hand. Madam Judith, if you are here, we have the floor for you.
Thank you, John, for this warm welcome. I'm happy and delighted to see all our colleagues and collaborators in this project of looking into bee farming. Thank you for giving us the rules of the game, 10 minutes. I will try my best to do the 10 minutes, though, okay, the presentation could be a little bit long, but I'll try to summarize it. So allow me to project that presentation right away to save on time. Just a minute. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, it's clear. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sumaya. So as we've just said, and as has been alluded by our team people in this webinar, I will be talking much about that forgotten treasure for sustainable development in Africa, and actually that is bee farming. It's highly underrated. So my presentation, I'll do a situation analysis of the bee farming innovation ecosystem, a contribution of bees to sustainable development goals, and actually what needs to be done in terms of the systems thinking as a way forward. So in our introductions, we'll have why bee farming. And here I allude into a number of reasons why bee farming is so important for sustainable development in Africa, in terms of contributing to food security, ecosystem functioning, and you see all this through pollination services and many others, contribution to the economy in a number of ways, job creation, actually even being an enterprise itself. For social cultural values, we know in Africa, we have a lot of things that are depending on bee products and the bees themselves, as well as in health through apitherapy. So those are the main reasons why we need to do the bee farming. So for food security, we know very well, about 74% of crops are pollinated by bees, and this gives us not only quantity, but also quality and improved nutritional value for bees. We need to give bees for environmental conservation and creating wealth. Ecosystem, in terms of ecosystems, they are very important as pollinators. Over 80% of our indigenous flowering plants benefit on pollination by bees. In terms of bioindicators, they are important as indicators of the health of our environment. For instance, by detecting pollution, especially through metals, and also contamination of feed resources. So bees can act actually as bioindicators, telling us how we can even manage and informing us the health of our ecosystems. In terms of economy, in quite a number of diverse ways. First, bee farming provides products that can be sold. And we can see, for instance, the global market value for the market is estimated to have increased from 8.58 billion USD to 9.01 billion USD this year. So this kind of a margin coming from bees is actually important. We can also see their contribution in terms of pollination services. And just giving an example, in 2009, for instance, bees contributed 11.68 billion USD to the agriculture sector in the US through just pollination service alone. In the industry, they are very important ingredients in the industry, not to mention their use as biocontrols of human-wildlife conflicts. And this is something that is actually happening in Kenya, in the Savo East and West National Park, to manage conflicts through the use of bee fences. Social cultural value of bees, we're talking about sustainability of our communities. It's a superfood. It's used as food by communities, as a sweetener, ingredient in making traditional brews. So I don't know whether that's, although it's part of our culture, in settling payments for dowry, protection of people, naming of clans, as well as in weddings, the honey is given as a gift. So bees are very important in fostering our social cultural lives and values. In terms of apitherapy, they are very important. And now, when it came to COVID-19, everybody was talking of, let me take a concoction, what we call in Kenya a concoction. I don't know what other countries may be calling it, but it became apparent that honey actually witnessed a positive demand across all regions in the world, meaning actually honey and bees are actually contributing to management of the COVID-19 pandemic. So what is this bee farming like? So looking at the bee farming innovation ecosystem, that ecosystem, that landscape, what is it like? And for your information, actually, Africa as a continent, we really are not doing well in terms of our contribution to this economy of bee farming, because taking, for instance, like Kenya, which is also known to be a country that is also doing quite something in terms of bee farming, we're only doing 20% of our potential. So what does that mean? We really are still well below in terms of actualizing the value of bee farming in contributing to sustainable development. So how is the innovation ecosystem of bee farming like? And when you're talking about innovation ecosystem here, we are talking about the actors and how they influence processes and inform the kind of environment in which all these actors are actually operating. As actually described by Grandson, actually all these actors inform how the innovation ecosystem of bee farming can actually move forward depending on how they are relating and how resources are allocated and how policies shape the environment of the bee farming innovation ecosystem. So here we have this bee farming innovation ecosystem to have the actors, the artifacts. And when talking about the artifacts here, we are talking about products, for instance, the technologies that are used, activities, what is that people are doing, and institutions, those policies that guide the development and innovations in these bee farming innovation ecosystem, or rather, what are the rules of the game and how have these rules of the game informed the development and innovation development of the bee farming innovation ecosystem. So we have the real actors in this ecosystem who are the generators of knowledge, like researchers. We have the translators of knowledge, like, for instance, manufacturers of equipment, bee farming technologies, the various kinds of beehives. And also then we have another category of actors who are the users, and these are the bee farmers. But what is the most characteristic thing of this innovation ecosystem? What is the most characteristic thing about the actors in this ecosystem? Actually, there tends to be a disconnect. The larger extent of it is that these actors are really not working in tandem. There's little cohesion in terms of developing this innovation ecosystem. So here we have the knowledge generators, researchers doing their research in the bees. Then we have the translators demonstrating the use of these technologies, the so-called artifacts, to farmers and how they can be utilized. Then we have other translators. These are in the people in the in the manufacturing industry, as well as people who are demonstrating the use of these technologies right to farmers on ground. We also have users and researchers again here who are in the bee farming industry trying to unleash research that can inform the translators and the users of this knowledge. So these three categories of actors need to work in tandem, work together, so that they can drive innovation in the ecosystem, as long as the policies, the rules of the game actually facilitate the proper, or rather more cohesive interaction of these actors. Then we have communication in terms of translators communicating to participants, or rather trainees in the bee farming sector. So all these are actors in this innovation ecosystem, but as I just indicated, these actors are actually, there's a high level of disconnect between the generators, knowledge generators, the knowledge translators, and the consumers. The policy environment has really not been so facilitative. Giving, for instance, an example of our country, in Kenya, you realize there are quite a number of gaps, as we shall see later. So the artifacts here, we are talking about the technologies. And why are we still at very low levels of bee farming? Majorly, one of the biggest concern is actually the technologies. The technologies, we are still using majorly traditional methods of doing bee farming, and the environment is also characterized by very low uptake of the modern technologies of bee farming, as occasioned by their cost, access, and low capacity in terms of knowledge and skills to make use of these technologies. So you can see this is actually what is happening in major parts of Africa, and maybe no wonder this is why we are just doing the 20%. It is not possible to achieve 80% when all we are using are actually traditional methods of doing bee farming. The more reason as to why we need modern farming. So here we have the modern technologies, the various types of beehives. We have the box hive, the Langstroths, and the Kenya top bar hive, among the ones that can give us better yields, better quality honey that can also meet the global standards for good quality honey. Then we have the institutions, we have inadequate policies and inadequate financing for bee farming innovation ecosystem development. Little finances are allocated to this bee farming innovation ecosystem to spur development and innovation within this ecosystem. And remember, institutions are the policies are very important in driving development in any of these sectors. Then no wonder we are not doing very well in terms of bee farming. 20% for us, for instance, as a country, we find it quite low. So what are these issues influencing development of the bee farming innovation ecosystem? One of the things is the low uptake of modern production technologies, the low technical capacity of farmers and personnel to take up even these modern production technologies, basically due to low levels of knowledge, the production and the apiary management skills, harvesting skills, value addition skills, habitat management skills. Most of the farmers do not have these kind of skills, not to mention also the low level of training of extension services, which influence a lot how farmers make use of these technologies. The other factors influencing the bee farming innovation ecosystem are the low levels of market research and market development, habitat destruction and degradation, climate change and variability, pollution, lack of quality hives, pests and diseases, as well as theft of hives, poor quality honey, attitudes and perceptions. In some parts of Africa, you realize if you are seen to be a bee farmer, you are categorized as that person who is not doing well. It's seen to be something of the lower cadre people. Then we have challenges of apiphobia. People are scared of bees, inadequate funding for the sector, and access to affordable financing. Most of these modern technologies are actually quite expensive. The policy landscape, for instance, is not always facilitating, as much as we are also being affected by the decline in bee populations. So if you look at from the Convention of Biological Diversity data, we can see that Africa is actually areas that we do not even have enough data on even the level and the status of our bee populations, but generally the observation has been that our populations have been declining. So what does that mean? The dilemma gets worse because we do not even have that data to guide direction. If we look at African continent, the key three things that are a threat to honeybees in Africa is actually the loss and degradation of habitats, fragmentation, pesticides, and climate change. These are actually factors, that threats that need to be addressed if we are going to restore our honeybee populations in Africa. So this is what we are doing to our environment. Polluting our environment kills our bees. It's just an example of a scenario of what we are doing. Diseases and pests. These are case scenario where wax moth is one of the key pests that is really threatening bee farming in Africa. So farmers are really at a loss, and these losses tend to discourage farmers. Low levels of financing makes farmers not even be able to construct useful apiaries where bees can thrive. You can see this kind of an apiary is not somewhere where the bees can thrive well. So then, what is the contribution of bees to sustainable development? Out of these 17 SDGs, bees could potentially contribute towards 15 out of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, as per research by Patel et al. 2021. So there's need to really thrash out what is these actual contributions of these bees into sustainable development, and actually there are facts and data to demonstrate that. So this only tells us the value of bees into contributing to sustainable development. And we identify a number of themes where bees are contributing to sustainable development through quality and quantity of food, nutrition and medicine, not to mention inclusive societies. You've seen the value of bees in our communities, socio-cultural, biofuels, forest conservation and growth, health and diverse ecosystems, economic opportunities, and innovation and inspiration. All these are overarching themes through which bees contribute to sustainable development. So what really needs to be done? There's need for supported research, support research and policy development. There's the need for development of an enabling environment and frameworks for effective actor engagement, support for enhanced adoption of modern technologies, capacity build for knowledge and skills gaps, actions to address the top three issues: habitat degradation, pesticides, and climate change. Those are the issues affecting bees in Africa. The top three need to be addressed. Then there's need to enhance education and awareness. People need to understand the value of bees to people and to the environment. So these actually are not really all exhaustive, but what we are saying is that there is need for that support for the bee farming innovation ecosystem to thrive. So thank you. When we support the growth of our bee population, when we support the bee farming innovation ecosystem to drive innovation and development, then our food security will be enhanced. Thank you very much. Over to you, John.
Thank you, Dr. Judith, for this interesting and amazing presentation. We've learned a lot, and I would like to mention that we can go through details and learn more as the University of Nairobi. They're conducting a training through Dr. Judith, and thank you so much. I always remember when you say that honey, it's the forgotten treasure. So it's really forgotten, and we know it's awesome. Be in Africa as the best in the world. So without further ado, I would like to pass to the next panelist today. With Dr. Sarah Ashanut Usia. I hope I'm not spelling your name. She's a project officer of the Sustainable Development of Livestock for Livelihoods project, Live to Africa project of the African Union Inter-African Bureau of Animal Resources. So Dr. Sarah, the floor is yours. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's really a pleasure and honor to have you among us today. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and I'm very honored also to be part of this, and I want to congratulate you, the Youth Consortium. There has been a lot of efforts to work on youth issues, but I think it is for youth themselves to take up that space and demand, but also to give the solutions. And I liked really the concept note that you had, because it focused on how can we bring solutions to the table, solutions that can work. So I'll make a presentation. I can share, I think. And I think my presentation follows very well from the last presentation that was made. So thank you very much. The presentation that I'm going to make on behalf of the African Union Inter-African Bureau for Animal Resources is strengthening the policy framework for recognition and support for beef farming as a sector critical to meeting Africa's nutrition and food security targets. First of all, AU-IBA is mandated to provide leadership in the development of African animal resources. AU-IBA is an agency of the African Union, a technical agency, and that is its mandate. We had a project, a bee health project, that was continental, and that project had a lot of good outputs, including sensitization across the whole continent on apiculture, capacity building on apiculture, but the focus was on bee health. I think we all know what was happening globally, and so we focused on bee health. And what we found is that we went across countries, and some countries actually, one or two countries said in their countries beekeeping is witchcraft. And then we went across the scope to countries like Ethiopia, which I'll present a little bit about, where it is an economic sector. So my focus will be looking at our policy framework. And I think somebody mentioned this. African Union theme for 2022 is strengthening resilience in nutrition and food security on the African continent. And for us, this is an extremely powerful theme, which I think the apiculture sector should grab and make their own. We have an enduring inability across this continent to meet nutrition targets, and there is an erosion of food security gains. And I think this is getting worse now with the crisis in Ukraine and Russia. But also in some areas, we've had the worst drought. And all of this really has eroded some of those gains. The 2021 Biennial Review Report, this is a report which provides an update of the status of agriculture on the African continent, showed that only 4 countries were on track to meet their nutrition targets. Somehow I couldn't go back to find out the 2, but Djibouti and Seychelles are two of them, and there's two other countries. This is a dire report. This is 15 years into, this is not even 15, 20, almost 20 years into implementing the CADEP, and we still have only 4 countries that are on track to meet nutrition targets. This is the opportunity that we have to elevate and bring to the table the contribution of the agriculture sector to nutrition and food security, and it should not be missed. What are the opportunities and what are the issues here? COVID-19 helped to highlight the role of honey in human health and welfare, and I think the last speaker said it very well. Global health trade had a remarkable growth of 9% in 2020 due to COVID-19, and is predicted to slow down to 5.5%, but this is just shy of the target 6% growth. Malnutrition, I think we're no longer talking about nutrition alone. We're not looking at nutrition alone. We're looking at malnutrition, all the forms. So especially obesity and other non-communicable diseases said to outpace HIV, AIDS, TB, and malaria together as causes of morbidity and mortality. So people are going to turn to look at sources of nutrition where they can balance their lives. And I think we've seen this, the growth in deaths to cancer and other non-communicable diseases. Sorry, why is this not moving? Okay. Unfortunately, the apiculture sector is not viewed as an economic sector. Ethiopia is the only country on the continent that officially recognizes beekeeping as an economic sector, versus other countries which may look at it as an economic activity or alternative livelihood. And this is for us to learn from Ethiopia. Ethiopia produces 26% of Africa's honey and is ranked as the 10th globally. The sector has seen a very high growth rate of 12%, which is double the target of 6%. It contributes 1.5% of the national GDP of Ethiopia. It gives occupation, livelihoods, economic activity to 2 million rural households, has a very high distributing factor. And you can imagine there are women and children, youth involved. The government has put in place enabling policy and legal frameworks. Sector associations and functional dialogue forums exist. It has also value chains that are developed, including research, and not just research, government-funded research, but even communities do research. However, there's huge productive gap. Only 7% are modern hives, which produce 30%, which shows you that there's a potential gap that can be filled. Only 1.5% of Africa's honey, which constitutes only 0.4% of total globally traded natural honey, enters the international trade. And for Ethiopia, although 95% of Ethiopia's honey enters the market, most of it goes into brews and is sold within the country. Only 1.6% of Ethiopia's total honey is exported. This underlines that Africa is not integrated in the world honey market. We're missing money. This is one of the most expensive, I can say, liquids on the earth, and there's opportunity to make money, but we are not integrated into the honey market. Africa is a net importer with demand tripling available production. Don't even look at demand, total demand, but just tripling available production. Africa can produce much more. It's now producing less than 10% of its honey and 20% of its beeswax. Few countries have tertiary level training. I think Dar es Salaam University is exceptional in its curriculum. Okay, so how can we look at honey? How can we look at pollination services? How can this be harnessed? First of all, we need to look at pollination services against other inputs. So in 2017, the annual market value of crop production directly linked to pollination was estimated between $235 and $577 billion. And these reports, you can go back and look at them. This is approximately 9.5% of total value of world agricultural food production. In comparison, look at the pesticide industry, which is about 84.5% billion. It is much smaller than pollination services, but in Africa gets far more attention. The agri-chemical market reached about 243 billion USD, again smaller or equal to the crop pollination services, but it gets far more attention. So what is the value of pollination services to Africa? Despite erosion of traditional diets, and I think the last presenter again showed us what crops are pollinated. So even though African traditional diets have been eroded, still there is an increasing dependence on these crops. And also several cash crops are also dependent on bees. So African livelihoods are more and more dependent on provision of pollination services. How can we value this? A study was done in Egypt, which shows that if Egypt suffered catastrophic loss of its bee populations, as seen in other parts of the world, the annual cost to the Egyptian economy would be $2.4 billion, or 3.3% of its 2003 GDP. This is substantial. So what we can state is that often policy serves more to legitimize what is taking place than to direct what might take place. Because the data shows us that this is a sector that should be recognized as an economic sector. Pollination services should be supported on this continent, but they are not. So what kind of information can we have to back this? From the livestock sector advocacy report that was released this year, we produced a livestock sector advocacy report, and this report we put in those areas where we would like the political leadership of Africa to take action. And one of those areas was apiculture or beekeeping. This report was adopted by the Specialized Technical Committee on Agriculture, Rural Development, Water and Sustainable Environment in December 2021, and this is at ministerial level. So at ministerial level, the report, including these recommendations, was adopted, and then it was sent to the summit and endorsed by Africa Union heads of state and government. So it is now for us to run and implement these recommendations. So what are these recommendations? Apiculture beekeeping should be recognized and accorded status as an economic sector that has a high employment and trade capacity, and it should be fully supported with policy, institutional framework, research, animal health, and agribusiness investment. What else did we put in as a recommendation? Recognition of honeybee pollination services as critical input for enhancing production of especially highly nutritious crops that are the domain of women, for cash crops that smallholder farmers depend on, for boosting the growth of Africa's fruit industry, for fodder production, and for conservation of biodiversity. Pollination services as a key input should receive policy, regulatory, institutional, and public and partner investment similar to pesticides and agrochemicals as a key input. Increased investment is needed for conservation, health, and promotion of growth of Africa's honeybee genetic resources and colony populations as critical resources for preserving both crop and wider vegetation biodiversity and environmental health. And an action point, a need for an Africa position paper on apiculture as a contributor to food and nutrition security this year. So it should go on the agenda this year, and this is fundamental to our work. The youth bulge, if well harnessed, it is estimated should generate between 11 and 15% of the GDP growth of the continent between 2011 and 2030. And it's risky not to pay attention to this because we already see unrest and unmanaged migration. Many youth are employed on a non-wage basis, and this does not attract them at all. In fact, for the farming sector, it's really dire because the average age of farmers is 60 and above. So we made recommendations which were endorsed by the heads of state, and which now we shall go forward to implement. So a continental policy framework and guidelines are needed for a robust approach to creation of livestock sector jobs for at least 30% of youth in priority livestock value chains, which includes the agriculture sector. And a continental strategy and dedicated multi-agency innovation investment fund for establishing, this was the youth network in all member states, and supporting youth business development and expansion in priority livestock value chains. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sarah. This was amazing, and we learned a lot actually, and the challenges we face when it comes to beekeeping in Africa. And, personally, I was surprised from how not all African countries are taking this into considerations. And it's most important actually if we think in terms of economy and food security, which depends on pollination. The key messages are powerful, and we will take into consideration all these keys. I really thank you so much for this, and I would like to pass to the next speaker, and Dr. Leila Lokoson. Thank you so much for being here today. Dr. Leila Lokoson is a statistician, information systems specialist, and monitoring and evaluation expert with 34 years of experience serving in different national and international capacities. His last job was in senior advisor for food and nutrition security within the Comprehensive Africa Agricultural Development Program, CAADP, of the African Union, and also my former supervisor at the African Union. It was such an honor to have you here today. So the floor is yours.
Thank you, Sumaya. Thank you, John, and thank you, organizers of this very impressive forum. I have not prepared any PowerPoint presentation because I thought I would just speak from my head, what I put down as PowerPoint talking points. However, I assure you that I'm a prolific PowerPoint presenter. I've developed PowerPoints. I've been in that job for a long time. However, I think at a certain point, PowerPoints would not applicable to me. Okay. And I want to salute the colleagues who have spoken before me, and particularly salute Dr. Sarah Wasia, a former colleague of mine. We've worked together. Sarah, thank you for all those powerful and very informative presentation. I've learned a lot also, like Sumaya, I've learned a lot from your presentation. As you all know, or some of you know, food security is a function of 4 overriding factors: availability, access, utilization, and stability of food at all times. All these 4 factors have to coexist in order for a household, a community, or a country to be determined as food and nutrition secure, and divert attention away to other aspects of livelihood and development. The pie is not complete when any of the 4 elements is absent. For instance, if you are able to find food, stock it and eat it every day, but it is lacking in quality in terms of micronutrient diversity and safety elements, you are by no means food secure. It is an undeniable fact that honey possesses the properties of quality food, as it is potent with ingredients that benefit nutrition, health, and vitality. There is no question about the huge benefits of bees in agriculture and crop production. In a nutshell, I can liken bees to an unsung hero or heroes. Simply stated, beekeeping or farming is the direction to go and the destination for investment, both at micro or small enterprise level and large scale level. It's an imperative that with its massive natural habitat and favorable biodiversity, ecosystems, and flora and fauna, Africa possesses an immense potential for the beekeeping and honey value chains industry. This is an industry that remains inadequately untapped and underinvested in, even when poverty and hunger are rampant in many parts of the continent. It is one of the glaring ironies that stare at our faces every day. To my mind, if a large proportion of our rural populations recognize the commercial, economic, and food and nutrition security value of farming and take the industry in earnest and zeal, we will not be talking of rural to urban migration of our youth today. Honestly, and I may be sounding controversial, I'm honestly not sure if I'm the only one who is not seeing any significant efforts or strategies on promoting or scaling up investment in beekeeping or farming that our continent or continental, sub-regional, and national organizations and governments have committed to. Of course, I'm aware of efforts in Ethiopia, where I currently am, having a big beekeeping industry and to the extent of working out modalities for exporting, if not already doing that. But it has that huge investment in the private sector, that's Ethiopia. And that not even taking into consideration implementing those plans that have been put in place. Even in my capacity as food and nutrition security expert with the 2 decades of work in the area, I don't recall seeing much strategies. Moreover, having been part of the CADAP team of experts for 12 years, I don't think I ever came across a substantial strategy for investment in farming. Yes, there are strategies out there, but I'm talking of a robust or comprehensive one that really can count with the ambitious targets, indicators, and so on. There could be semblances of plans out there, but are they substantial enough to enable contribution of the industry to our agriculture sector-led development agenda? Well, I doubt, or I don't know. Do I sound controversial or raising false alarms? I stand to be proven wrong. In all, I want to recognize the humongous value of this webinar themed bee farming and food security in Africa towards a resilient food systems and sustainable sustainable livelihoods. It's not only a great concept and initiative, but a potential game changer. I'm enthused and greatly elated that the youth of Africa have finally woken up to provide a think tank and platform for examining the real issues dogging Africa. I'm sure that I'm not being delusional if I say that this initiative is going to hit the ground running. I want to see this initiative morphing and transforming into a revolution by the youth for the youth in Africa, to engage actively in not only fighting for conserving our environment and ecosystems, but also for sustainable exploitation of our sustainable and renewable natural resources, with their huge potential for improving livelihoods, well-being, health, and economics and economies Ladies and gentlemen, on this platform today, we have seen a new awakening. Here lies an opportunity for you, the youth, to employ yourselves, secure a good living, and employ millions of other youth as well. The reach of knowledge we are going to acquire from this webinar and beyond must challenge us and entice us to turn en masse to bee farming industry, for the bee farming industry. There is no telling that you, the youth of today, have all the tools technology has offered that enable you to be the vanguards of innovation. So what needs to be done to leverage on the potential and opportunities at our fingertips? What are our priorities? What comes readily to mind is to join heads together to develop a continental strategy for scaling up investment in bee farming. This entails bringing together our scientists to brainstorm and develop such a strategy, if not review and validate existing one, if any. The AU, IBA, and FAO can co-lead these efforts. It would pay to see a document called Africa Bee Farming Investment Plan that will anchor national bee farming investment plans at the country levels. Please allow me to share a personal experience. In 2019, I visited a small bee farming firm at the shores of the Nile in Cairo. What I learned from the sweet-talking owner changed my view about bees and honey completely. In this respect, I want to encourage the African Youth Consortium to join hands in envisioning and planning a continent-wide bee farming trade fair. Let's go for the jugular, folks. And thank you for the opportunity to share my views on this delicious subject. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Laila. I'm done.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think Dr. Sarah wants to, okay. This was really powerful. As usual, this is what I used to listen and learn from you personally. You have mentioned that having been part of the CADEP team of experts for 12 years, you don't think you have ever came across a substantial strategy for investment in beekeeping. I think this is a starting point from the Youth Consortium, where we can launch a call for all African countries through encouraging, through youth, to encourage them to come up with this strategy and enhance and improve the situation of beekeeping in Africa. Thank you again. We would like, because of the time, to pass.
Can I just say something?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Yes, I'm sorry I will soon leave, but I would just like to say that if you go to the AU-IBA website, we have quite a bit of policy work that was done, not just by AU-IBA, but was done by the African Apiculture Platform, which has at least in national platforms from at least 35 countries. So at least 35 countries have done some work on trying to improve their policy frameworks. But a policy framework is just a framework. It is now within the countries for different actors within the bee sector to actually take up that space and run with it. And it is for the countries also to implement those frameworks. So we've done quite a bit of work, and I'm very happy to say that that work has been done mostly by the member states themselves. And within the member states, the apiculture platforms are multi-stakeholder. So that's also powerful. Today and tomorrow, I believe, the World Bee Day celebrations are in Nakuru, Kenya. And I'm very happy to say that the Apiculture Platform of Kenya was also one of the platforms that we set up. And they have gone and run ahead. And this year they are actually hosting the World Bee Day for Africa. So, and I saw some of the exhibitions, they are excellent, they are outstanding. So we're proud of that, but still this sector, there's so much more to do. There's no institutional support for it, and this is very important. University of Dar es Salaam is one of the universities that has a full-fledged undergraduate, master's, and PhD course for apiculture development. You cannot be an apiculture officer without going through that degree. And that is something we would like to see in all the other countries, to really to formalize and to support that sector. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That is noted. So we would like to go to the next session. Dr. John Agri will take over for the next session.
Thank you very much, Madam Sumaya, for taking on this very insightful presentations. And before we go into the plenary, where we are going to hear more engaging conversation with the experts, I would want to touch base with Dr. Laila. I mean, his presentation, he's put that emotional human connection to it, because as Dr. Sarah said, policies are just policies if they are not implemented. We can have the best policies in Africa. The whole point is, if on the ground these things are not implemented, what use is it for us to be like, hey, our policy is for 2030, 2050, or 2063? We fit into the Africa we want. What gain do we have? We've achieved nothing. So I want to applaud you, Dr. Laila, for bringing this whole thing into perspective, into the limelight. You have said it as it is, not as it should be, sugar-coated, and that alone is very humanly connected and very emotional about this. And we do promise as a youth consortium to take charge and take lead, where we are moving from ideas to actions. On that score, I will usher in our presentations, which will lead to our plenary session. We have highly expert individuals of diverse background who are going to dissect questions we are going to put to them. And the first is we have Mr. John Derry. He is an agronomist, an expert in tropical beekeeping, consultant in rural development. He's a serial entrepreneur and CEO and founder of Api Service Monday, based in Benin. The next panelist is Dr. Anderson Kabila. He is the program leader for natural resources and ecosystems of Stockholm Environment Institute Africa, SEI Africa. We also have Mr. Kevin Osa. He is an alumni of the African German Leadership Academy. And then we have Muko Jeanette. She is a student master's range management at the University of Nairobi, also training in beekeeping under Dr. Judy. So I welcome you all, respected panelists. Thank you very much for joining us today. I will move straight to Dr. Anderson Kabila, if he's here. Let me give him the first bullet. Dr. Kabila, are you here with us?
Yes.
Perfect.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Okay, so before I go straight to the question, can you just tell us who is Dr. Kabila and why is this topic or webinar so important to him, for him to share his precious time with us?
Yes, thank you very much for this opportunity Yeah, as you earlier mentioned, my name is Anderson Kebila, the program leader for natural resources and ecosystems at the Stockholm Environment Institute, based in Nairobi, Kenya. So I'm leading all the projects in terms of, agriculture, water resource management, equality, and the like, in Africa. And the Stockholm Environment Institute actually in Africa has like 3 programs. We are working on the energy and climate change, working on the natural resource and ecosystem, which I'm leading, as well as sustainable urbanization. So definitely, I'm very much interested in this event because, most often than not, as has been alluded by the previous speakers, the youth are somehow neglected in most of these development initiatives, development agendas in Africa. Not only the youth, but also other marginalized communities like, women and, you can name them all. So that's why I'm very much curious to provide a perspective to see how we can actually find ways to integrate youth and other marginalized communities into the development agenda. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Anderson, for that insight. So with the work you are doing at SCI, with respect to bee farming, how do you think it's so important to the youth? And how do we move on from here with the policies? How do we move on from, we've talked so much about it. The word youth is found in almost every situation. So how is SCI, with respect to your department, bridging that gap between youth and bee farming or factors of environment to promote bee farming?
Yes, so yeah, we have lots of projects that we are currently involved in across Africa, especially in East Africa, which we are actually implementing the aspects of gender in most of our projects, which also includes youth. But I just want to make this very important point that in terms of agriculture, which of course bee farming is like part and parcel of it, there is a need to actually transform the African agricultural system from subsistence farming into commercial farming. Because without that, it will be quite a tall order to actually, drive this sector forward. Because most often than not, we have to be very frank to ourselves. We are humans. We make very, economic decisions in terms of income generating opportunities. So no matter what we do, if at the end of the day, a youth or a farmer or whoever cannot generate source of income from whatever they are producing, then definitely that sector will definitely, die away. So that's why we're actually, working together with all the different stakeholders to see how we don't only just provide the training in terms of the best management practices, and then linking them up, with the donors and the possible financiers, and then why they actually produce what they're producing, then link them up to the market to ensure that they have some sort of stable income from the market that will enable them, to keep the whole process, going. Because we have realized that most often than not, projects just come, there's funding, and after the funding, then the projects like actually die away. So we're actually involving the whole value chain from production to processing, storage, and to the market, so that when it gets to the market, they can sell their produce, get the money, and then keep the whole cycle moving.
Thank you so much. This is really powerful, and I perfectly agree with you that we can have all the money or all the funding that is needed, but if we do not put to importance the value chain of this whole concept, then we still at ground zero. And you made mention of one key factor that really stood out: gender. This is very key to me. So does it mean with gender that there's more focus or empowerment on women also? Because I see beekeeping as, I don't know, but pardon my ignorance, You go, you fight with them, you get a food. They sting you, you cry small. So how do we encourage women into this? You made mention of gender.
Yeah, it's that's also a very good question. It's just a matter of actually empowering these women and the youth in terms of providing them with the necessary skills and the tools to actually do what they are supposed to do. And also, there's also a need to actually prioritize all these skill development and input to these marginalized communities, because what we've realized is that most often than not, wherever there's like an income generating opportunity in a community, the men are actually the ones who are actually taking leadership in that. So that has to change in a way that we gradually engage the women, the youth into this economic or income generating opportunities, and providing them with the knowledge and the skills, linking them up to the market, as well as providing them with finances, which is quite key. And one aspect that I have to make mention is that the former speakers have alluded to the fact that financing is actually lacking. That's because there is no business model, in terms of planning, developing like business plans, because a bank cannot provide you loan without knowing exactly if you're going to pay back that loan, or sort of a microfinance. So we have to start training the youth and those involved in the whole value chain on some of the business skills that they need to actually develop good business plans that can actually convince the financial institutions to provide microfinance, as well as government providing some guarantees to these financial institutions, so that you attract now many more institutions to come in and start providing this microfinance to the B sector in order to let it grow and evolve in the future.
Thank you very much, Dr. Anderson, for those insights. So I'm sure once I go around and one question comes, I will surely come back to disturb you on that. Once again, thank you so much for these insightful contributions and the work you are doing at SCI. God bless you so much for that.
Thanks.
All right, participants, you've heard it from the experts. You've heard it all with the questions I have asked. Please do feel free to put your questions also in the chat box. We will be asking them and showing them as well, so that you feel part of the webinar. I will move on to my next panelist. He is in the person of, let me see. So John Derry, are you there? John Derry, are you there with us? Yes, you are unmuted. Can you hear me, please? John, my namesake. All right, I think Coach John Derry's audio is not loud. We will work on that at the background.
Do you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear us, please? Welcome. Yeah. Thank you very much. So, John, you are an expert in tropical beekeeping, as well as consultant in rural development. Can you share with us your experience in this sector? Is it a promising industry? What are the challenges you are facing being in the field, and how do we move around this? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my experience about beekeeping. I'm John Derry from Benin. I started beekeeping since 2013, and now I'm the CEO and founder of Happy Service Monde, which is a social enterprise working to agribusiness, especially on beekeeping, since 2015. Since 2015 until today, we have trained and support more than 1,000 young people, and also agriculture, also peasants with whom we have worked around Benin. We have many products and services that we offer like honey, bee wasp, propolis, and also we are giving also the training. But about our challenges into these activities, we are the great challenge now that we are facing is the robbers of beehives, robbers and destructors. We have people who go to steal the honey and destroy all the beehives. After this challenge, we have also the uses of pesticides. The agricultures are using pesticides into their farm, and the pesticides are killing our bees. It is a great challenge. It is one of the great challenges that we are facing. Also, at the third place, I can show that the beekeepers into Benin and other countries in Africa are not organized. We don't have the serious organization which can defend our interests. That is a serious problem that we are working to improve into beekeeping actors. After that, also we can say that we have more or less, we have less young people into this activity because it is also in Africa, beekeeping is we are working with the bees which have these things that all people cannot support.
Thank you very much, John Derry. So let me ask you again, what will be your idea of a young person into beekeeping? Do you think it's all just about making money?
Can you repeat, please?
When young people say, I am interested in going into bee farming, is the whole idea about making money out of it?
I can say yes. We have two responses for that. They have those who go into beekeeping with passion, or we have also who goes into beekeeping to do business, as it's also a business, a green business with which someone can also support himself by working into beekeeping.
Thank you very much. I think you understand why you and I are laughing. And to everyone, we all have different perceptions of why we will go into a business venture. So others may go in because of money. Others may go in because of, I don't know what else, like you want to set up something for yourself, something you can own and be proud of. And interestingly, it may even be a hobby. I personally, my best hobby when it comes to hobby is cooking. Someone's hobby is playing football. Someone's own is music, playing the piano. So we all have, don't take it like, okay, it is all about the money. No, find your passion and put your mind to it. So thank you so much, Coach John, for those questions that you have brilliantly answered us. So I will thank you, merci. I will move on to another young, prolific man. He is an alumni of the African German Leadership Academy. He'll share a bit of himself and why this topic interests him and his activities with relation to the sustainable development goals. So, Mr. Kevin Osa, are you here with us?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you, John.
Thank you very much. So please, over to you. Let us hear from you as well.
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, I would like to present myself. I'm Kevin Osa from Togo, and I'm a climate activist for those who know about my work. And after I'm directing a youth organization that is called OCHET, Organization of Youth engaged for sustainable development based here in Togo as an NGO and moving around globally as a network based in Paris, registered. And our work today is to try to gather youth organization into the climate action, okay, by also trying to get in touch organizations so that to include youth vision and their ambition into their work plan so that we can have youth included in every politics and also in action on the ground. So our mindset is to think globally, but to act locally so that we can have impact. I am surely one of the beneficiaries of the African and German Leadership Program that held last year. We have another one who is now going currently. Maybe for those interested, you can apply for the next coming cohorts next year. The application will be online. Don't hesitate to follow TIE social medias so that you can have more information on that. I don't know if Sven is here. He'll be putting the social media link so that you can be following them. And if the application is launched, you'll be having notification to go and apply. Why this topic is very important, because you know today youth are the most important part of the population we have on the ground, and it is very important to include youth in every politics, programs, and project when it comes to project at the global level and also project at the local level. And with that, bees are very important for our biodiversity. Bees are very important. Bees are carrying, those are very important in the plant cycle. So they try to, I don't know if it's a good word, but polarization. There's something called polarization in French. So bees are trying to master that rule so that every plant, every vegetable can grow. So it is very important to protect bees, to not use chemical and project pollution to to kill them, so that we can have our biodiversity restored and also vegetable around, so that we can have a good health also. So I have maybe, I don't know, John, do you have some specific question for me? If not, yes, I have just
yes. I think I will ask you that, and then you can share with us what you have also put down. Now, considering you in the youth space, so what do you think are the things that can inspire we the youth to take bee farming as something lucrative or something like a respectable job? I remember when I was in university and I was studying agriculture, I had friends who were laughing at me and they even called me Mr. Farmer. But so the question is, with this kind of mentality, how do we inspire you and I and the people around us that bee farming is a respectable sector? Thank you.
John Terry is one of the youth I know from Benin who have been doing a great job. And when I got the information from Sumaya, I really get in touch with him so that he can be present on this webinar. He's somebody who is trying to inspire the youth around him. And I think today the issue is from the government first, okay, to put on, to build up policies that try to make farming very easier for the youth, because that's the first step. And after, I think there's a very great job to do to change the mindset of the youth, of young people in Africa, to tell them that we have a lot of resources, we have a lot of natural resources. So there's a need, it is very urgent for us as youth, okay, to be on the ground, to be at the local level, to return back to our communities with our knowledge gained from school, to let them transform their agricultural system, to let them understand more about chemical product using, and to make pressure on the government to avoid chemical project importation, so that we can have an agroecological system that is on the ground. So I think there are a lot of organizations also doing the job, but sometimes they just need to follow the government because, you know, when there's a issue dealing with politics, everything is turning around and we have just to do what governments have planned to do. So I think there's a job to do by the government and also all the actors, researchers, SEOs, NGOs, and organizations, and also enterprises. That there's a job to do to convince the youth, to call together the youth to come on the ground so that we can have agriculture. We can have youth included in the agriculture system because youth have the strength to work, and you know our parents today are very tired, and also there's nothing going on. And also after there's a need to transform the agricultural system. Today we cannot just count on the rain to do agriculture. We need to master irrigation systems. We need to bring water from the ground on the farm so that we can have we can be farming in any area of the year. So that is something I like to talk about before we continue.
Thank you very much, Mr. Osafo, for those youthful answers that you have given. We really appreciate that. Thank you very much. So my fellow participants, you've heard it all. And the interesting thing is we were supposed to even do a breakout session for everyone to also share their contribution. But we feel that that event takes a little bit of the fun and interaction from this webinar. So we are going to make it more participatory, more open, and then we are going to create another whole webinar where we are going to have breakout session for the major topics we had. We had policies and financing breakout room. We have the youth also as a breakout room, as well as environmental case studies breakout room. But looking at how loaded it is and how time is also of essence, we will re-strategize and see how it goes. But I would like to, let me see if there are questions in the, there are no questions, which means I will be forced to ask participants questions if no one is asking.
Not so much.
All right. We will do it this way. If you have a question,
I think she likes big projects. She's fun.
Okay, thank you very much for the back end support. If you have a question, please raise your hand so that we call you, or please, we will ask the speakers to. But before then, Madam Jeanette, please, are you there with us? Madam Jeanette, are you there with us? Our panelist, Madam Jeanette, are you there with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Perfect. So yes, you are doing your master's in range management, and you're also a student who is learning about beekeeping. I would like to ask you, what motivated you to go and read such a course? Like, why are you training in beekeeping and not anything like fashion or anything like something substantial? Why the training in beekeeping?
Okay, thank you very much, and I thank you all for this opportunity. My name is Mohojinet Mohotu from Lesotho. It's in the southern region of Africa, but currently I'm at the University of Nairobi doing my postgraduate degree. Yeah. I contributed. I wanted to join this beekeeping, bee farming training. I just wanted to get some clues and some information on how to contribute in this the environment we are having. We see now our environment is changing bit by bit. So by having the bees, we know that the bees can make change in our environment. Yes. Apart from that, I see youth now are working around. They don't have some jobs. They have we have so high unemployment that is towards the youth. So I was just interested in this because back home I once joined one of the non-governmental organizations. It was a youth-led organization, but we were still looking for funders. Yes, in that organization, I was the leader of climate change and adaptation, mitigation and adaptation program. I remember we were working on having the trees, plant trees. After planting trees, we put the beehives there and do something with the bees and get something, and also change the environment and contribute in improving our environment. So I think this webinar and today's session is very important, because even from Sarah, Dr. Sarah, I had something that is about on policy framework. So I think that will assist the youth out there when they get implemented. So on my side, I was interested in joining the training on bees, since I'm doing something that is on range. While we are doing the range management, then we are combating, we can combat some of the things that contribute to decline in bee farming. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So if I may ask you again, you are in the beekeeping training. Do you think it is important for people, young people who want to go into bee farming, to be trained first? Or if I have my money, I can just start doing the business? What do you advise?
Okay, it's very good to get some training, because most of the youth that we are having these days, and yes, we have so many youth that were not exposed to bee farming. They need to be trained first. Even the technology for beekeeping, they are not familiar with. So by start by giving them some training will assist and boost our beekeeping industry. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much on that. I really appreciate. Now, if I would like to ask my fellow respected speakers if some of them are still here with us before we wrap this session up. You have all given wonderful presentations on beekeeping, the youth, financing. But we realized that we did not prepare very well for COVID-19. So my question to our speakers is, how do we build a resilient bee farming model or industry to withstand shocks, future pandemics, and cushion our food security? I don't know if Dr. Laila would want to take this up, or Dr. Judith, or any of the speakers who is here with us. The floor is an open question to all, or even the participants. This is an open question. So the floor is open now.
Thank you, John. Can I take it up?
Yes, yes, please.
Yeah, thank you. So to build a resilient bee farming industry, as I said and indicated earlier, we really need to understand the bee farming innovation ecosystem, the ecosystem itself. How are the actors interacting with one another? Then we look at the policy frameworks, so that, you know, policies facilitate, provide an enabling environment on which actors can really engage. So without looking at a thorough analysis of the innovation ecosystem, it's the bee farming innovation ecosystem itself, it may be an exercise in futility to work in a fragmented manner. We need to look at it as actors interacting to drive development and to drive innovations in this ecosystem, so that we can build resilience even in times of pandemic. So the setting up frameworks for interactions becomes very key. Looking at effective engagement of all actors in the bee farming innovation ecosystem is central to developing a resilient bee farming ecosystem. Thank you.
Central developing a resilient ecosystem environment. Thank you so much, Dr. Judy, for those powerful and insightful solutions to us. So I would like to bring in Michael. Can you speak? Your hand is up. Michael, over to you. Michael. All right, so I think we cannot connect to Michael, but he has put his submission there, and I'd like to pick it up from this point where he says he personally joined at the age of 11, and he has been in the bee industry till age 31. And do you hear what he said? He says, beekeeping is my life. I learned this from my father. His main activities in 1974 to now. Wow. So young people around Africa are looking for jobs without considering this green entrepreneurship around our protected area. Beekeeping is life. Let's protect pollinators around Africa through beekeeping as a source of biodiversity. I mean, this is amazing. He started it at the age of 11. Michael, we would really love to engage you further and see how best we can use your story to inspire more African young people. On that note, I would like to pass over to my partner, my co-partner, Madam Sumaya, to take it up from here. Thank you so much for everyone who has joined here. She'll take it up from here as we wrap up. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jean. I think we have done amazing webinar today. I would like to, before we end this webinar, that we all started from somewhere. And if we are talking about beekeeping today, it's all about raising awareness and to bring more youth into this field. Personally, I remember like how I became interested in this field when I was a volunteer at the African Union, and Dr. Laila was my supervisor. I was really into the food security, and I'm still. And food security is very important, especially for our continent, Africa. And I was asking myself, okay, what is one of them contributor to the food security? Is the pollination, and pollination come from bees. So how is the situation of bees? So I was surprised of the lack of data, of the lack of technology research, and the lack of intervention of youth into this field. So this is how it started. So we are today just to want to keep working on this field. And the UN theme for this year is World Bee Day. Is be engaged, build back better for bees. So let's build back better through youth. So I think, okay, I can see Michael is back. And if he wants to say anything, or maybe if any of our speakers or panelists want to say a word before we end, please feel free.
Yes.
Yes, Anderson, I can hear you. Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, I just want to provide some key aspects here as well.
Yeah,
in terms of,
I'm very proud to be a part of you.
I think we hear from Anderson, and then we can hear from Michael. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yes, so the final thought I just want to provide is, in terms of this beekeeping, to take,
thank you.
To take the aspect of One Health, which includes, the bee health, in terms of, best management practices that also include integrated pest management. The second aspect of the One Health is human health, which includes appropriate use of antimicrobials, as well as food safety of the beehive products. Then the last aspect will be environmental protection. That includes, the use of organic materials and avoiding, the use of maybe like pesticides that will go a long way to also affect, other aspects of the environment and other plants and animals around. So by so doing, we will now provide a good, environment for these practices to actually evolve organically, whereby the bees are also like, producing, honey for the farmer, as well as pollinating, plants and then enhancing biodiversity. So I believe this aspect of One Health is really critical to ensure, appropriate, production of honey from the bees. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anderson. I don't know if Dr. Leila is still here. We want to hear from Dr. Leila.
I'm here. You want me to talk? The microphone is on.
Yes. Final word.
Okay. Yes. I've heard and I've read and I've believed, I've witnessed that farming it offers a potential for innovation. It has that innovation value or substance. And the youth, as we know, the youth of today are so much into technology and innovation. What we lack in Africa is investing enough or promoting intellectual property and innovation. We just don't have, we don't put this as a priority at all. And yet that's where the potential lies for development, for changing lives. Japan became what Japan is now known and to every corner of the earth. It's a tiny country, but we know it grew up because of technology. Simply because in Japan, if you are innovative, you come up with an idea, even a small thing, you get the reward for it. We don't do that in Africa. And that's where, and with our youth dividends, youth potential, we are simply shooting ourselves in the foot. We are not doing enough. So I would like to see that from now on, let's think about this innovation, not only in the pollination, that pollination does a lot in our lives, in food, farming, even in horticulture, non-food items. But at the same time, we have the value of honey, which goes into the pharmaceutical, goes into the beauty, goes into our food. And the more, if you don't come with a product that is innovative enough, then you're not running the market. So I would like to see that we take this area of the nexus between innovation and bee farming and youth is bringing these three components together: innovation, bee farming, and youth. How do we bring this together? We need to take this dialogue forward to ensure that this happens. The food security element aside, the food security benefits aside, but let's pursue this agenda in earnest. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'd like to see if Jean Daddy is still around so he can give his closing remarks. John?
I'm there. I'm there. Yeah?
Yes, if you have anything to say before we end this webinar.
Okay. Thank you. Once again, many of the speakers have told on, what can I say? I'm missing the word in English to explain what I want to say exactly, but I will try with my best. I was saying that the previous speakers have told a good response about the question and about the preoccupation. They told the good proposition about beekeeping into Africa, but also I want to add onto the speech. I will say that the beekeeping is a good job in Africa. In this activity, in this job, we don't have many youngs. It's a great opportunity for youngs to be involved in sites and work to innovate inside, because if we look at into beekeeping, we don't have in Africa many products. In Africa, we don't have a Gili Royal, but we have it in some less countries, but not in other countries. We don't have Gili Royal, we don't have pollen, we don't have what can I say? Also, the service of pollination is not in Africa, but we have, it is some opportunities for us young people to start into this activity and work for its development or its expansion. That is what I wanna add some about what people, others have told. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Before we continue, I want to hear from Michael because we kept him so long. So briefly, can you just go ahead and have the floor.
Oh, thank you for the floor once more. I'm Michael Kakule Mutsapu, the beekeeper from the childhood, as beekeeping is my life. I've been really grateful to be a part of this session because beekeeping has been one of really activities which it have contributed to all my life, from my childhood up to now, to school fees and everything which I have, it's through beekeeping. And now my query is just to see in our town, bees are just killed everywhere. They are killed by chemical products, even in different cities. I wish we should think about how we can get green ambassadors in cities, and where they could be just protecting bees in schools and to bring them maybe around protected area, so that they may just facilitate the creation of jobs to young people, so that they may get more opportunities, because green entrepreneurship through beekeeping is the first one where it will require less money, as the panelists have been talking. It will require only the courage and just to be focusing. You'll have to get something, such as what they have been saying. Honey beekeeping, it's less involved. It's just less known. It's less just, it doesn't have any program which to support beekeepers, because beekeeping, just capacity building in beekeeping are not organized in different cities, such as just in my town. Now we are facing less production of honey, less productivity of honey, because in our place, the place to which it could be just good for the farmers. It has been now insecurities in DR Congo, more especially in the Beni territory, and even the less beekeepers who are just doing just whatever things which they are doing, they do not have any support. That's why when I've been saying no, now I've connected with beekeepers as well. How can we join? How can we join just this network so that we may just try to see how we can empower more young and to attract those who would like to join this opportunity, to try to see how around our protected areas we should have those green ambassadors who may just take care about bees in
Michael,
town.
I'm sorry to cut you.
More especially, we used to talk about bees when we are just in a
Can you hear
forest,
me?
because we have been seeing people using the folk method, just the old methods by burning a full hill, without taking care about the bees. That's why when I'm saying we should have young ambassadors in the town so that they may shall facilitate to integrate.
Michael, can you hear me? I'm sorry to cut you because we are running out of the time. We really appreciate all the points you're saying are very important. We need to continue with the closing remarks with Jana, and if Janet is here also, and then we close this webinar. Jana?
Okay, thank you, madam. Thank you very much for today's session. But before we can close, maybe I can have some answers on these following questions. Are there existing policies that affect the beekeeping industry or farmers? And the last question I have is there enough financial support to young people who have interest in the industry? Thank you.
Your question is for...
Okay, thank you so much for those two solid questions. Earlier on, we stated that we're supposed to have 3 breakout sessions to deal with these 4 questions, where we will go into details with experts on policy, financing, youth, environment. So this question falls in line with that webinar where we are going to have it fully. So we are going to note it down and we will surely come on this question. In the meantime, I don't know if Judith would want to talk on policy, but for the youth consortium, we have seen that there is financial gap in this sector, and that has also made the youth not appetizing to such an industry. That is why we have taken it upon ourselves to engage all the relevant stakeholders to provide a sustainable stream of financing and funding, but it has to be through training. It is only when you have fully trained well that you can have access to this funding, because at the end of the day, we can give it $10 million. If you don't have the prerequisite technical know-how on how to even engage, as Anderson said, business model, sustaining from production, processing, and packaging, we will still come back to the same story. So we will share with you the full scope of this project, and you have all the answers that you need. Thank you very much, Madam Sumaya, and over to you.
Thank you so much. I don't know if Jana, can you hear me, Jana? I don't know, my internet just went off a bit.
I'm here, yes, I'm here.
Yeah, thank you. So if you have anything to say, you're welcome.
Yes, thank you very much. I would like to thank, first of all, you, Sumaya, and John, for an amazing organization. It was very interactive and very interesting webinar. I learned many new things that I had no idea about actually. So really thank you for not only organizing this, but also enriching, I think, all of us with new information, with amazing presentation. It was really a pleasure hearing from the experts from the field. And I'm really looking forward for the next series of the webinars, which I think I can speak on behalf of all of us, that we are looking forward to seeing not only the participants who join us today, but also new participants joining the webinar number 2, which will be hopefully in the upcoming weeks or months, where we'll be more focused on really interacting with the participants in the form of breakout rooms and really having their say and getting to the core of the issues and finding out recommendations and solutions altogether. So really thank you very much, John, Sumaya, and all the speakers. How we say in French, je dis bravo. So really congratulations everyone, and thank you very much. It was an honor and pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jana, for your support and all the work you have done with us. We really appreciate it. I think we have come to the end of this webinar. I would like to thank everybody, the panelists, the speakers, the participants for their patience and for all the information we have got today. If Dr. Jean wants to say the last word, so we can just, I wish you all a good afternoon or good evening for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you everyone. Thank you everyone. Take care.
Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you so much. Bye.